Come join us in the land of never, where we find out the true origin of a beloved character known as Peter Pan in Peter and the Starcatchers. What's up? And you're watching Paperback Worship here on Nerdy Blurb TV, where we review books for your convenience and for our pleasure. And today, we're going to be reviewing Peter and the Starcatchers, which is one of my all-time favorite books when I was growing up and still holds up pretty well today because it's so much fun not only for kids, but it's very nostalgic for adults. But also, the writers actually know how to keep an audience really engaged when it comes to the action, the humor, and the childlike wonder of it all. It's a fantasy meets reality in a YA type sense of environment. And I really enjoy that because every now and then I will read heavier books and I can always go back to this series because there are 4 books in this series and have a good time. So let's get into the synopsis. In an evocated, fast-paced adventure on the high seas, and on a faraway island, an orphan boy named Peter and his mysterious new friend, Molly. New friends? That's always good. Overcome bands of pirates and thieves in their quest to keep a fantastical secret safe and save the world from evil. I mean, no better plot than that, right? Saving the world from evil. This impossible to-put-down tale leads readers on an unforgettable journey, not to mention a nostalgic one at that, fraught with danger yet filled with mystical and magical moments. Cool! Now, I will be completely honest with you by saying that synopsis is a little bit vague when it comes to this book because there's so much more going on in the story. There's, yes, pirates and high seas and Neverland with Peter Pan, but there's so much more. Like I said, this is an origin story of a beloved character. How does he fly and how did he get to Neverland? Not to mention the natives, the crocodile, the fairies, so much more. Even the mermaids. They all have a beginning, and it's here in this book. It's very clever, and I really love how fast-paced this book is. For younger readers, I would say it's probably one of the best to be able to get hooked on. When I was younger, I was reading Harry Potter a lot, and I didn't ever want to venture out any more, and this was the book that I finally took because Jim Dale was actually the audiobook narrator for the entire series of this one. He also did Harry Potter, and I really appreciated being able to wean myself off of Harry Potter finally to Peter and the Starcatchers. This first book it sets the tone for the rest of the series. We learn about Peter, we learn about the Lost Boys, how they get there, and his new friends. Now, his new friends are actually people who explore in magical properties, which, spoiler alert, not too much of a spoiler alert, but that is where Peter Pan finds his magical gift of flight. And I think it's really cool how they were able to do it. This book is YA, so like there will be details that are glossed over with fantasy elements, and that's okay because it really works very well here. Now, there's some elements that I absolutely loved about this book, and that was, one, the characters. The writers knew what they were doing when it came to writing characters and how they can stand out from anyone else. And dealing with characters that we are very familiar with, such as Peter Pan, Captain Hook, and even the Lost Boys, it's kind of shaky ground to get on. But the writers did a great job, and they made everybody stand out in their own personal way. Even the Lost Boys had their own personalities, and we connected to each and every single one of them. Even with new characters, they had their own voice, and they had characteristics that were their own, and I can really appreciate that. Going along with characters such as the natives who were there on Neverland to begin with, it's really cool to see that part of the story expanded so much more, and it makes it more realistic and, dare I say, believable about everything. It's really cool to be able to to see that and see how an author can not only expand a universe and a world, but keep true to the originality of the first. It's really charming, it's really witty, fast-paced, and entertaining throughout with action and heartfelt moments. I would give this book 4 out of 5. Now, I did mention how fast-paced this book was and the pacing was great, but that is the only drawback that I do have, that maybe some people don't necessarily like an entire linear storytelling type of a book when it sees from other people's perspectives at certain different times in a linear spectrum. I actually thought that it really worked with this, and it works for the rest of the other books, but there are parts that I feel like when you backtrack to see somebody else's perspective of things, it can kind of dip the story just a little bit, but I mean, it hardly ever happened in this book, and I really appreciated that. Like I said, this is the first book out of a full series. There are 3 other books after this one, and I quite enjoy the entire series. And if you want a really nice, fun read in something that you're very familiar with, such as Peter Pan, this would be a great thing to pick up, because it's a world that's explored and the lore is dived deep into when it comes to that beloved character. Peter Pan got so much more interesting and so much more fun because the world is so much bigger than we saw in cartoons, maybe in a few of the movies, but definitely so much has come from the small nursery rhyme to now this wonderful book series. So thank you so much again for tuning in here at Paperback Worship. We want to be able to hear from you. If you've read this book, please let us know. If you like this book, please tell us what you loved, and maybe if you didn't like it, let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys. Again, we always try to recommend books to any and everyone who is willing to listen, and if you have recommendations for us, please let us know, and we'd love to read them, to talk about them with you. Before you're done here at Nerdy Blurb TV, go check out the rest of our content. We love diving into the nerdy and sharing it with you, whether that be books, movies, TV, and so much more. We cover it all, at least we try to. Thank you guys so much, and until next time, keep on reading.